The most dangerous compliments aren't the fake ones. They're the ones that turn expectations into obligations. Most compliments are exactly what they sound like. Someone's proud of you, grateful for you, or just being kind. This isn't about those. This is about the kind that sounds identical right up until you notice the bill. Your boss tells you you have the most potential. Maybe that's why you got promoted. Or maybe that's why every layoff left fewer people, and somehow your workload never got smaller. Your partner tells you you get me like no one else. Maybe that's intimacy. Or maybe it's why every difficult conversation somehow ended with your needs becoming less important than theirs. Understanding them became your job. Understanding you never became theirs. Your friend tells you, you're the most loyal person I know. Maybe it's gratitude. Or maybe loyalty only seemed to matter when someone needed something. Your phone rang first when there was a problem. Somehow it rang last when there was something worth celebrating. None of these prove anything on their own. That's exactly why people miss them. Because the problem isn't that appreciation can be fake. It's that appreciation and obligation sometimes arrive wearing the same face. Which raises a harder question. Were you being appreciated? Or were you being selected? And if you can't tell the difference, you'll keep paying costs you mistake for proof that you're valued. So here are 5 ways to tell the difference. Here's the first one. Pay attention to when the compliment shows up. Before something happens or after. You handled that client really well. Fine. The meeting's over. Nothing comes next. You're exactly the kind of person who can handle this client, said before the meetings even happened. And now you're walking in there carrying an expectation nobody actually discussed with you. One is a verdict on the past. The other is a contract for the future. You just haven't signed anything yet because nobody asked you to. Here's the second one, and it's a little harder to catch because both versions sound like compliments. The difference is what they're actually pointing at. When someone praises something you did, the praise has an edge to it, a beginning and an end. You did a great job on that report. Once the report is filed, the sentence is finished. But when someone praises who you are, there's no edge at all. You're just the kind of person who never lets people down. That's not about a task anymore. It's about you, permanently. Saying no starts feeling like saying you're not who they said you were. This is the one that actually decides whether a compliment turns into a bill. Because it's the moment you stop being free to just say no. Watch how the discomfort grows. The first time someone asks for a favor, you think about saying no, but you remember they called you the one they can always count on, and no doesn't come out. You say yes and feel a little proud of it. The second time, you actually try. What comes out instead is an explanation. I would, but I've got a lot going on, like no by itself isn't allowed anymore. The third time, you don't even get that far. You just feel a quiet guilt like you let someone down, not for missing a deadline. For almost not being who they said you were, that's the real cost. Somewhere between the first yes and the third, refusing stopped being a choice and started being a betrayal of a version of you that you never actually agreed to become. Here's the fourth one, and it's the one you can actually verify because you don't need to read anyone's mind. Just look at who else is in the room. Once you've been called the one who can handle it, people stop checking if you actually can. The deadlines other people get, the patience other people get for screwing up. None of that quite applies to you anymore, and nobody ever announced why. She says, take your time to everyone but you. To you, it's, I know you'll figure it out, which somehow always shows up the day before there's no time left. Everyone else gets to have an off day. You say no once, and suddenly everyone's surprised, like the version of you they liked never gets tired. Notice what actually changed. The compliments stayed exactly the same. What you were quietly allowed to do didn't. Here's the uncomfortable part. Most people doing this aren't running a plan. They said something once. It worked, so they said it again. At some point, it stopped being a strategy and became a habit. That's why looking for bad people won't save you. The pattern works perfectly well without one. Here's the last one. Check whether the praise is showing up instead of something you were actually owed. 40 minutes about how essential you are. 2 minutes on why the raise isn't happening. Notice which one took longer. The year everyone else got promoted, you're the backbone of this department instead. And somehow that always lands right when promotions are being decided. In a relationship, it sounds like, but you know how much I love you, right after an apology that should have come with something actually changing. It didn't, but the love line did its job anyway. If the appreciation always shows up exactly when something else was owed, that's not a coincidence you can keep ignoring. One of these on its own? Probably nothing. Most compliments are exactly what they sound like. But 3 or more, stacking up in the same job, the same relationship, the same person, that's not praise anymore. That's a bill, and you've been paying it without ever seeing the invoice. Not every compliment is a setup. Most aren't. But the next time someone tells you how rare you are, how reliable, how different from everyone else who would have said no by now, don't just take the compliment. Ask what it's quietly asking of you in return.